Hey there, my friends. Stan Gray here with TRQ The Right Questions, talking about some deconstruction type stuff on this channel. I just finished recording another video, and then I saw this come up, also from Frank Turek, Cross-Examined YouTube channel. And it's a similar line because the video I just did was about why God would create Satan, knowing that he was going to go crazy and do all this really stupid and insane, nonsensical behavior that ruins humanity and all that stuff. But I watched this one and I really wanted to react to this one as well, because there's so many bizarre things that I can call out here, and I intend to do so. So we're going to look at the whole thing straight through so you see the context that Frank's channel was willing to put up here for us to look at. Can Satan be forgiven? We'll watch the whole video and then I'll go through it piece by piece.
If everybody's worth saving, then what's up with what's his name, Satan? Right? What's the need for hell if God, the God of mercy, can forgive Satan?
Well, if Satan doesn't want to be forgiven, if Satan doesn't want to be in heaven, then God is not going to force him into heaven against his will. So hell shows that man is free and God is love. Why? Because God is not going to force people into his presence against their will, and he's going to separate himself from them. And that's why ultimate reality is going to be two places: heaven with God, hell separated from God. But love requires free will, and God can't force anyone to love him, because then they wouldn't have free will. Forced love is not love, it's a contradiction. So he has to give us all the free will to love him, but that also gives us the freedom to reject him as well.
The more of Frank Turek, and I've watched dozens, if not a couple hundred Frank Turek videos. Yeah, probably close to a couple hundred videos of his, now that I really think back, because I've been going through this process for quite a while. The way that he communicates his apologetics is to try to keep things at the most base level as possible. Keep things as simple, gloss over things, hand wave things away as much as he possibly can, because the questions that some of these people ask Frank, and he's up here, he's on stage, he's got a microphone and speakers and everything set up. He's putting himself into this position to contend with these tough questions. And these people seem to genuinely want real answers. And what he gives them is the most surface level, almost like, hey, let me just throw you a few crumbs and you can take that and be on your way. Because real talk, a lot of Christians, they just want to be told everything is okay. You don't have to change your belief system. You don't have to learn anything new. All you got to do is stay the way you are, hold on to the beliefs that you already have, that you were given or you grew up with or that you chose for yourself. Some people do that too. And, whatever, all the work that you've already done, that's sufficient. All you need to do is steady the course, stay exactly the way you are. But let's go back and look at this from the beginning and break it down.
If everybody's worth saving, then what's up with what's his name, Satan? Right? What's the need for hell if, God, the God of mercy, can, forgive Satan?
The God of mercy, the God who can do anything you can imagine that fits within the paradigm of what a God could do, God can do. Apparently, God has the ability to forgive, right? And some people use the excuse like, oh yeah, he's God of perfect justice, so he can only do X, Y, Z. There has to be blood spilled in order for God to be able to forgive you. But that's not true according to the biblical narrative itself. Even Jesus basically insinuates in one particular passage, I'll have to look up to see what verse it is, but he implies that forgiving someone's sin is easier than healing someone's body and giving them the ability to walk again. One of the points of that story is to say Jesus has the authority to heal people and to forgive people. But he says, hey, it's easier to forgive someone than it is to perform a physical miracle. And here's another thing. If we are supposed to forgive each other. And when we forgive each other, it should be pretty much one-sided. Like, say someone, assaults my family member or unalives them even. That guy goes to jail. And I see him in the courtroom getting his sentencing. One of the things, if I'm a Christian, one of the things I'm supposed to do at some point is say, you know what? Even though you did this and you changed my life forever and you did this horrible thing to my close beloved family member, I still forgive you. Even if the bad guy, the guy who's now going to prison because of what he did, even if that guy just doesn't want or care about my forgiveness, I'm still supposed to do the Christian thing and forgive him, which is pretty much unconditionally. I mean, that's an unconditional circumstance of forgiveness. However, God doesn't do that. In order to be forgiven by God, according to modern day Christian ideology, you have to be actively seeking that forgiveness and believing that you got the forgiveness. God will not unconditionally forgive you the way we're supposed to do for each other, which is really weird. And the same concept should extend, in my opinion. I mean, I don't see why not extend forgiveness to everyone, including Satan. If you created Satan knowing exactly what he was going to do, exactly how he was going to maneuver throughout his existence, and you could have created him in a way where he wouldn't have done that, but you chose to create him in the way that he did do it. So why not forgive him? All that to say, why not forgive Satan?
Well, if Satan doesn't want to be forgiven, if Satan doesn't want to be in heaven, then God is not going to force him into heaven against his will.
So Satan was in heaven at one point, and if it was so great, why did he decide to leave? Why did he do something that's so insanely stupid, thinking that he could defeat the God of the entire universe that literally created him and all of his friends? Not only he, but possibly millions of other angels decided to rebel and fight a completely hopeless, nonsensical, idiotic battle in heaven. If heaven was that great, why would Satan even have left there to begin with? Just yet another thing that just makes no sense anymore to me. Let me know if you disagree.
So hell shows that man is free and God is love. Why? Because God is not going to force people into his presence against their will.
So some people have this idea of hell that you're not just, you're not going to be tortured for all eternity. You're going to be eliminated. You're going to be annihilated from existence. And that's what separation from God actually means, which is it's certainly preferable to being tortured for octillions of years and, times an octillion. It's a kind of a more touchy-feely, modern sensibility type of Christian worldview, which does serve to sort of soften the blow of the existence of hell. But it's not a black and white thing. It doesn't have to be, hey, either you're in heaven because you like me, me being, hypothetically, I'm the God character in this analogy. Either you like me, you could be with me in this place. It's the best place ever. But if not, you're going to go to hell, the worst place ever. Does it really have to be that way? There must be some reason for the enhanced level of suffering and isolation and degradation of the human and even non-human, entity to be relegated to a place like hell, whatever that, mystical realm would be. If you're an all-powerful God, you can certainly separate yourself from people, even though you're supposedly omnipresent, and there's nowhere in the universe or in any other dimension where you're not there. What the point is of separating yourself from people who don't want to be with you, I don't really understand. I don't want to be with that God. I mean, I don't believe that God exists, but if it did exist, that entity is such a terrible person, in my opinion, based on the biblical narrative, that I wouldn't want to be in that thing's presence either. So therefore, I mean, is he in my presence right now because he's omnipresent and I'm not in hell yet? Is that how it works? This whole thing is so strange to me now that I'm looking at it from an outside perspective.
And he's going to separate himself from them. And that's why ultimate reality is going to be two places: heaven with God, hell separated from God.
So somehow God is going to transcend, even though he can't create a rock that's so big that he couldn't lift it, he's going to create a place that's so far away from his omnipresence that he's not there. I think I just found a new little strain of weirdness in the Christian worldview, a place that is so separated from the omnipresent God, who is literally everywhere and in everything. He's made a special place for people who don't want to be with him that's so far away that he's actually not there, even though he's everywhere. So I mean, I guess hell is nowhere. Another extremely bizarre idea that Frank just kind of blows over. He just rolls right over that.
But love requires free will, and God can't force anyone to love him, because then they wouldn't have free will.
What about the creatures that are covered in eyes, that are just constantly around God's throne saying, holy, holy, holy? Do they love him, or are they just there as decorations? Are they non-sentient automatons that just chant praises to God at all times? Because they certainly don't seem to have free will. I wonder if they are conscious beings that are intentionally, lovingly chanting God's name, which is really super weird if you think about it. I mean, I'll just leave that there because I don't want to be disrespectful. But it seems like that would be a form of forced love, if you ask me. It's kind of weird, which according to Frank that's a contradiction. So let's continue.
Forced love is not love, it's a contradiction. So he has to give us all the free will to love him, but that also gives us the freedom to reject him as well.
So you got to go back and watch my other video about why God created Satan, because that free will to love situation is another thing that he glosses over in this video and in the other video that's specifically about this. And it's the idea that if you have free will, God gives you free will so that you can choose which way to go. But that video is about predestination. So God created everything in the exact way that he did, knowing exactly what would happen, who would love him and who would not. And somehow our free will can counteract that and surprise God if we really will it to do so. That's sort of what I took from his explanation. And I'd love to hear an argument against that, but go back and look at that video because it's very relevant to this. So anyway, in summary, there's no logical reason, in my opinion, other than cherry-picked New Age Christian logic, that the biblical anonymous gospel authors and all of them never crossed their minds whatsoever. This is all stuff that's developed over time, over the last 2,000 years. There's no logical reason why God is unable to do anything, let alone the main thing that he claims to be the only one who can do, is forgive sins. This all, like I said before, this is all set up and put into motion by the hand of God himself, according to the Bible. So things playing out exactly the way that he set them up to play out, and billions, if not trillions of entities, if you include fallen angels, humans, and whatever else, all these beings are going to be suffering for possibly eternity. Maybe they're going to be annihilated. I don't know. It's none of my business because I don't believe any of it anyway. But the logic behind God not being able to forgive even Satan, it just doesn't really hold up if you think about it, in my opinion. You agree? You disagree? Let me know in the comments down below, and I might even do a response discussing those comments if I get some really good ones. So anyway, let me know if there's anything that came up for you during this video, that any observations, questions, comments, concerns, anything that you never really thought about before. And if you've also struggled with this idea in the past yourself, I'm interested to know what you all think about this stuff. So anyway, I'm Stan Gray. This has been TRQ, The Right Questions. And remember, if you want to know the truth, you've got to ask the right questions. I'll catch you later, my friends.